Here's a piece of maybe not quite so lost media for the internet to get a bit excited about, insomuch as you can get this one on hard copy, but it's not the most easily available. A costume drama shot on the Bluebell Railway some 25 years ago that isn't Downton Abbey, thank God. Station Jim is a 90-minute BBC period drama about a Jack Russell Terrier that ends up performing tricks at a railway station to raise money for local orphans. Filmed mostly at Kingscote Station, and making use of the railway's operational collection of period locos at the time, the film may not be the most elaborate or notable production made on the Bluebell, nor the most railway-orientated, but in its own way, it seems to have become a little bit more sought after due to it becoming harder to find nowadays. What's the film about? Spoiler alert, you've been warned. In the late 1890s, a railway porter named Bob Gregson, played by Charlie Creed Miles, works at the fictional station of Watmidwell on the Great Western Railway, which you can obviously tell by the Brighton and South Eastern engines and stock. Amidst his dreams of becoming station master, and winning the heart of mistress of the nearby orphanage Harriet Collins, played by Laura Fraser, he takes in a runaway carnival dog that he affectionately names Jim. But a fire at the orphanage means that it needs to either find £500 for repairs or be condemned, and the children all moved overseas. It's up to Gregson, Jim, and one of the orphans named Henry, played by a young Thomas Brodie Sangster, to raise the money in time. And that sounds like a nice simple story, which to be fair, it is. But while this is going on, it turns out the orphanage's owner, Mr. Reardon, played by David Haig, is actually in favour of the orphanage closing and might have encouraged the fire in the first place. Furthermore, the orphanage is hoping to gain patronage from Queen Victoria while she's passing through Watmidwell Station, unbeknown to the assassination attempt from the dog's former owner, and my god, I think I've gone cross-eyed. Seriously, for a family film it manages to be a bit complicated, which is by no means a bad thing, as it does generally make sense, but there is a lot to keep up with. But if you hope Station Jim the film bears parallel resemblance to the real Station Jim employed by the Great Western at Slough between 1894 and 96, then you're likely to find more accuracy elsewhere. If you thought Balto took creative liberties with history, this film only seems to have a skeletal resemblance by comparison. The focus is more on the humans than the dog, there's some slightly cringy motivations behind Gregson's actions, and the Bluebell is about as Great Western as a fish finger. Okay, the railway has the Duke dog, which is at least half Victorian and fully Great Western, but she was under overhaul when this film was made. So, yeah, it's very much a work of fiction that was more inspired by the idea of the real Station Jim. But like Balto, the story itself is quite sweet and whimsical for what it is. For what little screen time he gets, the dog is quite impressive to watch, considering he has to jump through fire on a number of occasions. His instinctiveness might seem a little simplistic on occasion, but as far as emotional storytelling goes, his performance works fine. The supporting cast is generally quite impressive too. Prunella Scales is Queen Victoria, her husband the late Timothy West gets a cameo, as does that guy who plays the caretaker in Harry Potter. Okay, we'll gloss over that one. George Cole, who you might have seen in the Great St. Trinian's train robbery, plays the outgoing station master who sees the royal visit as a fitting send-off for his 32 years' service. I like David Haig as the villain, but am I the only one who can't look at him wearing a moustache without thinking he's going to break into a heated argument with Rowan Atkinson?
It is not within my power to prevent you from looking like a Dickie Doodah. Only God or a large bag could do that.
You'd think someone in production might have spotted that, since the Thin Blue Line was still quite popular at the time. Still, like the rest of the cast, Haig's performance is fine, and it isn't too distracting or over the top. There's quite a few dramatic moments in it too. Despite being done on a TV budget with some dated elements, like the film being sped up to indicate when a train is going faster than it really is, the special effects all feel real and sometimes quite intense, like when Celine Imrie's character is caught up in the fire. The only aspect I take a bit of exception to, and it is only slight, is the love story between Gregson and Collins. It's cute, and it's not so much of a 3-day romance as most classic fairy tale and Disney films, but it ends up feeling a little rushed, and Gregson's motivations leave a bit to be desired, especially to begin with. The main reason he wants to help the orphanage is because he's trying to win Miss Collins' heart. Hell, he flat out admits it after she rejects him, and even considers a job working for Mr. Reardon in retaliation. But the following scenes when he goes for the interview, followed by Henry becoming disillusioned and running away, are probably the most important parts of the film. When he goes for the interview, Mr. Reardon effectively tells Gregson to give up everything that's been important to him so far.
I must make it clear, one of the conditions of your working with me is that you sever all ties with the orphanage. No more raising money, no more tricks with dogs, You're my man now, do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Now, by this point in the story, he's done with the orphanage, so you think his motivations become clear. But earlier in the story, Riordan tells one of the orphans that he's found a home for them. But in a few seconds, Riordan's true colours are revealed for him.
Mr. Gregson!
When Gregson returns to the station, it's not entirely clear if he's going to take the job or not. But when young Henry nearly gets run down by an express train, Gregson's quick to make up his mind. It's a nice plot point that shows Gregson isn't entirely influenced by love, especially seeing as later on in the story, Miss Collins reveals that she might have had a similar experience to him. Being an orphan himself, it's nice to see Gregson develop and his motivations subsequently change. Both he and Collins had differing opinions of the industrial age, but helping those less fortunate brought them together, even though there's one or two moments that might be a little awkward to sit through first. On the whole, Station Jim won't exactly blow people's minds with its production value, storytelling, and historical accuracy. But when just about every other drama focuses on being gritty, hard-hitting, and borderline pornographic, this one's pretty easygoing and charming by comparison. It's kind of like those old Ealing films that aren't necessarily groundbreaking or hilarious, but are easy to watch, have a big heart, and a familiar cast. Plus, if you're a sucker for anything that features steam trains or was shot on the Bluebell, then I'd say this one's a worthy piece to add to your collection. The only problem is, the film hasn't been shown on TV in about 20 years or so. It isn't available to stream anywhere, and while it is available on DVD, it's currently only for the overseas markets, i.e. regions 1 and 4, at a higher cost than you might imagine. If you thought I was charging too much for my DVDs, you wait and see how much this one goes for in some places. If you shop around enough, you might be able to get it down to 10 to 15 quid, but then the shipping on top of that is often even more than the cost of the film itself. Look, this isn't an excuse for anyone to pirate Station Jim, and I hope that nobody does do that, so please don't do that. But I suppose if anyone wants a Region 2 release of this film, then the best thing they can do is express whatever interest they can to BBC Films. Money talks to big business after all. Station Jim may not be a world beater in railway-based period dramas, but I'd say it's worth at least one watch for those of you who are mildly curious in something more light-hearted. And for collectors of railway media, I'd say this one's a worthy addition, if not for what it is, but for its rarity. I'm Chris, and I'm here to gauge the issue.